In today's reading from Galatians, St. Paul presents a powerful allegory of two women, Hagar and Sarah, representing two covenants. Hagar, the servant or slave woman, represents the old covenant of the law, which binds people under slavery. Sarah, the free woman, represents the new covenant of grace through Christ, which sets us free. And Paul's message is quite clear. He says, "For freedom, Christ has set us free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to the yoke of slavery." Reflecting on this passage, I can't help but compare the freedom that we have in Christ with the concept of civic freedom that we enjoy in our societies today. And I don't mean just American society, but society in the rest of the world. In Christ, you see, we are set free from the bondage of sin and death. And this is not simply a theoretical freedom, but a liberation from the very things that enslave our hearts and our minds. Things like anger and resentment, fear of failure or fear of the unknown, excessive pride or the need to feed one's ego, addiction to substances or gambling, for example, grudges and unforgiveness, obsession with power and control. I can go on, just to name a few. Each of these can prevent us from living freely, both emotionally and spiritually, and can keep us from growing in faith, love, and fulfillment. Just as a nation struggles to break free from oppressive regimes in order to grant its people the right to live without fear of tyranny, while Christ breaks the chains of spiritual oppression. By uniting himself to our suffering, he provides us freedom from guilt, from shame, and the weight of sin. And whether it's civic or spiritual freedom, responsibility comes with it. Just as citizens of a free country have duties to uphold justice, to protect the vulnerable, and maintain the rule of law, well, so too does freedom in Christ come with a call to live righteously. And how do we do that? Well, Paul himself reminds us not to use our freedom as an opportunity for self-indulgence, but rather to serve one another in love. Civic freedom requires that we participate in society's welfare. And in the same way, spiritual freedom invites us into the responsibility of loving and serving one another. Freedom is never about self-centered autonomy, but is always about the flourishing of all. When we prioritize our own desires above the needs of others, well, we lose sight of the greater purpose of life, which is to love, to serve, and uplift those around us. True fulfillment comes not from accumulating wealth or satisfying every craving, but from living humbly, generously, and in harmony with our neighbors, who are our brothers and sisters in Christ. In addition, freedom is also about purpose. It is given for a purpose. Civic freedom allows for the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, enabling individuals to reach their full potential. Well, similarly, the freedom we have in Christ is not aimless. It is for the purpose of becoming who God called us or has called us to be. We are free to live in the fullness of God's love and to become witnesses of his grace. This freedom in Christ allows us to transcend the limitations of worldly freedoms. While earthly freedoms may come and go, depending, of course, on the rulers and the laws or political climates, well, the freedom that we have in Christ is eternal. It frees us not only for this life, but for the life to come. We ought to be grateful that we are no longer children of the slave woman, bound by fear and death, but children of the free woman, heirs of God's promise, liberated by his grace. And with that, I ask that we all just go and walk in our purpose, love without fear, and stand tall, head high, because we know who's got our back. We know. So be free, live free, because God's already set us free.
Thank you for participating in the digital liturgy today. The digital ministry touches the lives of many people, as does almost 80 other ministries here at OLPH. Grateful for the community that connects to OLPH through this digital forum. It's unbelievable how many people are able to access the liturgy and other events because of this ministry. Please consider supporting OLPH. All of your sacrifices help to sustain this parish and to keep moving us into the future. Thank you very much, and keep watching.